At midnight, a worker opens a trap door beneath a crowded house. He lowers a bucket into the darkness. Above him, an entire family is asleep. Beside them, another family. Then another. The street outside is packed with homes, shops, animals, wells, kitchens, and hundreds of people who will all wake up needing the same thing. Somebody has to make yesterday disappear. Today you press a handle, hear water move for a few seconds, and the problem leaves your life. You do not see where it goes. You do not meet the people who carry it. You do not need to know which direction the ground slopes beneath your house. But for most of urban history, waste did not disappear. It waited. And the larger a city became, the less room it had left to wait. The earliest solution was distance. Small communities could place waste beyond the spaces where people slept, cooked, or collected water. Soil could absorb part of it. Time could break part of it down. A settlement with enough open ground could keep moving the problem farther away. But cities changed the mathematics. More people occupied less land. Houses pressed together. Wells, markets, workshops, animals, kitchens, and burial grounds competed for the same space. What worked for 50 people could fail completely for 5,000. Some ancient cities built drains, latrines, and sewers. Roman public toilets could place rows of people above channels connected to flowing water or underground drains. Wastewater from baths sometimes helped move material through the system. From the seat, it looked remarkably advanced. But a drain is not the same as a complete sanitation system. Some sewers carried rainwater, some carried waste. Many homes were never connected, and moving contamination beneath a street did not guarantee that it stayed away from food, hands, insects, rivers, or drinking water. The Romans had built a way to move the problem. They had not yet fully separated it from human life. After Rome, European sanitation did not simply vanish. Different towns used different combinations of privies, drains, containers, rules, and pits. One of the most important devices was also one of the simplest: a hole in the ground. A cesspit stored waste beneath or behind a building. Walls could be lined with stone or timber. A seat or small structure could be placed above it. Instead of leaving waste in the street, the household concentrated it in one location. For a while, this worked. The material remained out of the main living area. Some liquid drained into surrounding soil. The pit could hold months or years of accumulation. But storage created a clock. Every pit eventually filled. When that happened, someone had to open it. Across different cities and periods, workers emptied privies and cesspits, often at night when streets were quieter and the smell caused fewer complaints. The material could be carried outside the city or sold for agricultural use. The city had created a hidden profession whose job was to move one household's problem somewhere else. It was difficult, unpleasant, essential work, and it still depended on distance. As long as there were fields beyond the walls, carts available, and enough time to collect each pit, the system could continue. But cities grew faster, streets became more crowded, buildings became taller, more people produced more waste while the journey out of town became longer. Then a new invention appeared to solve the problem inside the home: the flushing toilet. Water could clear the bowl immediately. The user no longer had to wait for a container to be carried away or a pit to be emptied. It seemed like the breakthrough. Instead, it exposed the real problem. A toilet does not destroy waste, it adds water to it. The old cesspit had been designed to store a limited amount of concentrated material. A flushing toilet sent much larger volumes of liquid into drains, pits, streets, and rivers. Systems that had functioned badly, but slowly could now fail quickly. This is the point where the history changes. The central problem was never the toilet. It was the connection between the toilet and the water people drank. If waste entered a river upstream, leaked from a pit into a well, or passed through crowded neighborhoods, removing it from one house could spread danger across an entire city. The cleaner the bathroom appeared, the easier it became to forget what was happening downstream. 19th century London turned this contradiction into a crisis. Its population expanded dramatically, cesspits leaked. Existing drains carried waste toward the Thames. Water companies drew from a river that also received the city's sewage. Cholera repeatedly struck the population. At the time, many people believed disease traveled through foul-smelling air. This belief was wrong, but the smell was attached to a real failure. The city had allowed waste and water to occupy the same system. During the hot summer of 1858, the polluted Thames produced an odor so powerful that Work near Parliament became difficult. The event became known as the Great Stink. The smell finally forced political attention onto a problem Londoners had endured for years. Engineer Joseph Bazalgette did not invent the sewer. His achievement was larger. He designed a city-scale network. Instead of allowing hundreds of smaller drains to empty directly into the Thames through central London, large intercepting sewers collected their flow. Gravity carried it east. Pumping stations lifted it where the land could not. Embankments created space for pipes, roads, and other infrastructure. Thousands of separate household problems became one coordinated system. The breakthrough was not a better toilet, it was integration. Pipes had to connect to larger pipes. Flow had to follow gradients. Pumps had to overcome low ground. Capacity had to account for a growing population. Waste had to be separated from the places where people lived and collected water. Later systems added another essential layer: treatment. Simply moving sewage downstream protected one neighborhood by passing the burden to another. Modern treatment plants use physical and biological processes to remove solids, break down organic material, and reduce harmful organisms before water returns to the environment. The city no longer merely hides waste. It manages a cycle. That cycle now begins every time you wash your hands, drain a sink, take a shower, or flush a toilet. Beneath the floor, your private action enters a public network, shared with thousands or millions of strangers. That network is one reason modern cities can become so large. Without it, density turns ordinary human biology into an urban emergency. The worker beneath the trapdoor was not performing a primitive version of an unimportant job. He was carrying the weight of a city one bucket at a time. Modern sewers replaced that bucket with gravity, brick, pumps, chemistry, biology, and miles of coordinated infrastructure. You press a handle, the room becomes quiet again. But beneath you, an entire city begins to move. Subscribe to Blue Line History for more stories about everyday problems, human solutions, and the history behind modern life.